So it's a trick to staying in charge no matter the circumstances. This is lesson 5, and it's actually called thinking into results. Um, there it is. You know, when people tell you that story, it's felt. People tell you that story from a feeling place that says, you know what? Oh, I wanted to do that, but this thing and that thing got in the way. What they're really saying is that I finally succumbed to my programming, because nothing is impossible. And we've heard that before. It says it in the Bible, you know, with God, all things possible. But we've heard it, but it sounds cliche. We've heard it so many times. But the truth is nothing's impossible. And I want you guys, speaking of books, to think about this in a different way. Creation as we know it, however that came from, whatever it was, if we think of God doing this, is done. There's nothing that's being created right now. Now, creativity is bringing things into existence, but those states already exist. Those possibilities already exist. You can't bring something into existence that wasn't already, somehow formed. And that's the thing when we talk about, where was this before, somebody figured out the idea of putting all this stuff together so that now I can call you and text you and send pictures and whatever, all around the world. Well, it was out there somewhere, and somebody had to be receptive to the idea of a cell phone, wireless, calling, whatever, for the idea to begin to show up. And that's how it actually works. So all those things, they're already here right now, and you're just getting into a state of receptivity of what it feels like to have them already. That's what causes it to happen. And that brings me to my next slide of decision. Now, I use this slide, and I'm using it right here, right now, because that's what I want you to know, is that the frequencies are infinite. That means infinite possibilities are out there. The one, whatever you want to do, I don't care what it is, you've got to give yourself permission to say that I'm going to go do it. But the way to do that is there. If you've seen somebody do it, then, oh, yeah, cool. You already seen a way it's possible. But if nobody's ever done it before, it doesn't matter, because you've had the desire. That means that that state can exist in the world, and you have to start to get in harmony with these things. That's so it exists. You give yourself permission that that exists. But now here's the flip side of that. Once you start to go toward that, you're always in this space of kind of battling back and forth of my programming. I'm building the person that I want to be, and that person can see it and receives that information for what my next step should be. But then I'll flip back over to this other side and say, oh, you know what I mean? Like, who am I to think I could do that? Nobody in my family's ever done it. Whatever the programming that comes up and says that, it turns all that stuff off, and you really start to believe that's not possible. And that's what results in those stories of those people telling that stuff. Yeah, it's absolutely not, it's not true, because the frequencies are infinite. What's been created is already there. It's already, and it's been an idea in you, so it already exists. You just need to learn how to use your wonderful mind in a receptive fashion, which I share here at M3 Mastermind, how to get that thing. The frequencies are infinite. And I want you to think that there's a law. We work in M3 and thinking into results in the main coaching from absolute laws, cause and effect. We know that that's an absolute law. That's not different in Africa than it is in Europe than it is here. Well, from these absolute laws, we also have a law called the law of opposites. And that means that everything has an opposite. Positive, negative, whatever. Everything has an opposite. So if you can think of a reason why something can't be done, then there's a reason why it can be done. And that's putting you in a state to start to take this information in a different way. It's not just magic stuff we're talking about. It's not just this out there stuff. I'm talking about the real stuff that very few people know in the world, that actually go out there and get what they want. And even if they are getting what it is that they want, they might not know this stuff, but they're working in harmony with these absolute laws. Get into that state with yourself, okay? And understand it's all there. And then when you're going to look for an answer, I want you to get into this state too. before I move forward. You know that you know the answer. Savannah's done this a couple times. When she'll reach out to me and she'll say, you know what, I just want to figure this thing out, or I'm working through something, so I'm going to call Matt and talk to him. But that automatically flips her vibration. And it's like if you couldn't figure out what to do in school and you had this problem and you looked at it and you kept sitting there, it's like, oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. Fine, I surrender. I'm going to go see the teacher in their office. And then you know, and you flipped something inside of you because you could sit there and look at that problem and know that you were going to get the answer and all of a sudden figure it out before you even get to go in to see the teacher. Why does that happen? Now, this happens also in doctor's offices. People know they're going to go see the doctor and say, hey, I'm going to figure out what's wrong with me. And now that they know that they're going to get the answer, they're sitting in the waiting room and they're like, crap, I know exactly what's wrong with me. It's because of that receptivity. So I want you to understand that whatever problems you're facing, when you use this information that I'm sharing with you, you're going to get the answer, and believe that. That's flipping you over into that space. So there's no longer any circumstance out there that can ever stop you from moving forward. And I think you would agree with me that as long as you keep moving forward toward what it is that you want, it's only a matter of time before you get it. As long as you can figure out ways to keep moving forward and keep moving forward, you are going to get it. It is inevitable. Remember, we're taking a look at our results. We're going to start this one off this evening when we get down to the take action of talking about stuff that we don't want. So what? We just get that stuff out on paper so it's not stuck inside of us doing all that damage. And we do not judge ourselves for those things. I cannot say it enough. You are not your results. You are that wonderful creative force that's inside, seeking expression through all of your programming and seeking expression out into this physical world. But you are not those things. You are that wonderful thing that's experiencing it all. And you are perfect as you are inside of there. You've just got this mask of block programming stuff that we continue to rewrite the programming for so that you, the perfect and amazing, wonderful you, can get fuller and fuller expression out into the world. Spirit is always seeking fuller expression and expansion. Remember that. Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. And yet you see so many people out there in the world that do that. They sit there and they think about, oh, the damn problem, and let's talk more about the problem. Basically, they're sitting around coming up with better and better reasons for why it can't be done because they're using the same thinking. And if this guy wasn't one of the smartest people that you've ever seen and who solved a lot of problems, a lot of challenges, and looked toward the solution. And he was very imaginative too. A lot of the stuff that he got and he pulled forth into the world, it came from him knowing that there was a solution and imagining what that was. And then that just played its way out into the physical world. Einstein actually said, when they said, why do you do this stuff? Why do you work so hard on this stuff so tirelessly? He said, I just want to know what God's thinking. That's really what he said. That was his quest, is finding out how it all worked. And so it was really kind of a spiritual thing that he was doing. Buckminster Fuller was a famous architect. You see that big thing he's holding in his hand? I know it's a small picture that I got there, but that's that expansion ball. I can't even remember what it's called, but he was an amazing architect. And he said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Well, apply that to yourself. As you sit right now, if you knew how to do, if it was part of your programming, how to do the big thing that you wanted to do, and you really, really wanted to do it, you'd go do it. But you, as you exist right now with your programming, can't do it. You don't know that, and you're not going to do that. So the only choice you have is to continue to build a new model of you and a new model of you, a new programming of you, a new programming of your expression of yourself into the world. Part of that stuff that holds us back is that we've been taught to live through our senses. Pay attention, look what's going on here, see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and that's everything. And I want to say that it we do need to be present. There's a big deal about being present, but also being able to learn about what we're going to talk about tonight by being able to be present with your heart, being connected from your heart and not feeling like, I have to say something or I have to do something, but saying, I'm going to be in tune with my inspiration when I'm inspired. If I have to tell somebody something to show them that I know something, I know that I'm coming from my old self. That's from ego. Oh, I have to show them that I'm smart. I have to validate myself for this type of thing. That's not it. That's not a good enough reason to speak. A good enough reason to speak is when you're inspired and you know in that moment that that comes down, that this is the right thing to say and share. And more often than not, it's because you're standing across from somebody and speaking, and you know that it's the best thing for them. You know that this is exactly what you feel it. Those are really beautiful things. And being in tune with your senses and being focused right here, right now, that's a powerful thing that way. But living your life just purely through the senses and using those senses to dictate what's possible for you in the future is not the way to live. Anybody that chooses to live their life that way for the rest of their life, which is what we're being taught to do, pay attention to your senses, is never going to do anything of consequence, anything great. They're not going to make big leaps in their life. They're not going to do anything. They're just going to live this life. They've come to a certain point and they're basically going to stay there. If you want to take the big leaps, we've got to get into our higher faculties: perception, imagination, intuition, will, memory, reason. We're not taught to use these things in school, and yet here they are. There are higher faculties, the most creative faculties that we have, especially imagination, and we're not taught to use them. We talk about it from the point of view of lifting weights, is that if your senses are over here, it's like you're banging iron here and just lifting weights with this arm, and you get so good at paying attention to your senses, which can't help you create in the future. And your higher faculties are over here, and it's like this arm it's in a cast and it's tied to your side. So they weaken as we get older. It doesn't mean that they disappear. It just means that they weaken. They weaken to the point that we think that, oh, I'm not really that. I can't do that. No, you can, and you can absolutely develop them. So let's talk about them just a little bit here and what perception is. I hit on this right now. Perception is really cool because um, the law of opposites we talked about. You said, you hold up the book and go, okay, it's one of those old style books, and it only has the words of the title of the book on the front. You hold it up and you say to somebody, there's nothing printed on the cover of this book. Am I right or am I wrong? And of course, the person standing across from you says, you're wrong. And he says, no, there's nothing printed on the cover of this book. Am I right or am I wrong? And he says, no, you're wrong. And he says, now, the more I get you to focus on what's printed on the book, the more you're convinced that you're right and I'm wrong. Is that correct? Yes. And then you turn the book around and you see the old style book. It's just a leather bound book, and there's nothing printed on the book from the point of view that the person that was holding it up. All we have is a difference of opinion there, a difference of perception, where we're viewing something from. Like I said, the law of opposites says that if you could tell me why something can't be done, it's automatic. There's an opposite there. There's why it can be done. You can draw on perception from a person. They don't have to be alive. If you read Atomic Habits enough times, you get to know that author well enough, you could actually sit there and go, what would he do with this? What would he do? How would he form this habit? Because I really want to form this habit right now. And your answers start to flow in because you change your perception. You're using that higher faculty. Imagination creates fantasies. Because we're not taught to use our imagination or encouraged to use our imagination and grow that, it kind of defaults to a thing. However, everybody else around us is using it. It's how we get taught. And we start to use it negatively. So if we start to say, I want to go do something, or things aren't going well, if we use our imagination in that moment, and we do, we start to think about the worst thing that could happen and the next worst thing, and oh, that's not going to go well. That's a downward spiral. That's a vibration. It's crappy use of this wonderful, wonderful faculty. Imagine that if we knew in the world how to use our imagination as well as we use it negatively, if we were teaching our children from a young age how to use it positively. It's always drawing something to you, it's setting a vibration, and it's conditioning you to receive the thing. If we learn to teach our children now to start imagining the positive things in the world, what would the world be like? It would be a completely different place. There would be no lack. People wouldn't look at the world from lack because there is no lack. We have more food in this world to feed the world right now as it exists. We just don't have the means. We don't have the awareness of how to distribute it. That stuff like that would go away in an instant. It would go away. We would always be thinking of how things can happen and build that fantasy in our mind like what it is. When I think of imagination, I always think of Walt Disney. My goodness, he plucked that right out of him, you know, and nobody knew what it was. It exists today. Intuition, it picks up on vibration and it translates those vibrations. And we've been taught to not pay attention to that either. Some people will feel that maybe more strongly, you know, gifted. Everybody can develop their intuition, but or not know what it is. One thing about intuition was for me because I wanted my parents to be happy, and you know there wasn't a lot of happiness when I was younger, and I felt responsible for that. So I would pick up on people's feelings, and I would immediately, without even knowing what that was, I would want to do things to make them happy, whether it was to say something funny or do something cool. And that became a habitual way of being for me, so much so that when I got older, I never thought that I was doing it. And I would get into a situation, you know, where a higher authority was in a negative vibration for whatever reason, who knows? And I would immediately, without thinking, take that on. Like, I've got to do something to make this funny. I've got to do something to make this. That's not true. Intuition is a powerful, powerful tool because when you understand this stuff, you're able to go into a situation and go, gosh, I feel like crap right now. I don't feel good. What have I been thinking? Hmm. Well, I haven't been thinking any. Nope. Oh my goodness, that's not my vibration. I'm picking up on somebody else's. It's right here across from me. And you can totally free yourself from that moment. You can just totally let that stuff go. When we do appointments, you know, like Savannah, you know what that feels like now. And you don't have to take it on anymore. You're just like, oh, that's maybe their nervousness or that's their way. That's not mine. I'm going to take control of my vibration right now and know myself to be who it is that I am and what I want to feel. Joy, love, peace, and happiness, right? Your will is a powerful tool that we combine with all these things. It just gives you the ability to focus on one thing at a time. Jason, you talked about ADD and you know, that's concentration in the will and gives you that power. It's something we must focus on building by stopping and saying, I'm going to meditate today or something. I'm going to just sit and I'm going to think about one thing at a time. You can light a candle. People will gaze at a candle and say, I'm only going to think about the candle. And then they notice coming in. You can put a dot on the wall, whatever it is that you want to do. But that is the will. It gives you the ability to focus on one thing. Memory is the faculty by which the mind stores and remembers information. There's no such thing as a bad memory. That's a little bit of a tough one for people to take. It was tough for me to take. Memory is only strong or weak. That's all. And if it's something that you're referencing back a lot, of course, it's a pathway in your mind, in your brain that you're using easily, memory. But there are only strong and weak memories. And the reason I'm going to kind of blow this up for you is that, like I said, the law of opposites. There's good in everything. And some of the greatest things in our life have come from moments where at first we might have said, hey, that was bad. You know, I didn't like that. But when we go back and we reference that, there's a feeling attached to it. And we have the ability to change that and say, wait a minute, that was one of the greatest moments in my life. And when you go back and begin to reference that, because I used to have memories that would just buckle me. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I did that. It's not even happening. And it would just really ruin the moment. There are no strong and weak memories. And if you ever find yourself in a place like that, accept that information that I'm sharing with you and go back and rewrite that and say, wait a minute, what was good of that? What was good about that? You know, my results, remember that's not who I am. So I don't need to wear that thing, you know, so you can let it go from that point of view. And what good came from that? And I guarantee you're going to find the good that came from that, especially if you're reflecting back on what you learned and what you've become, or maybe in that moment you need to learn more about that. Maybe that's why that memory pops up for you, is what you can become from that memory. And reason is it gives us the ability to do the highest thing that we can do, God's highest form of communication. It's pulling that wonderful energy that's flowing to and through you and forming it and making thoughts. That's what reason is. But we don't have to have, our thoughts are dictated by our subconscious, but we don't have to have those thoughts. We can originate new thoughts in our conscious mind and say, I'm going to think about this thing completely different. But we have the ability to, one, originate thoughts, and two, accept thoughts. And that's our reasoning factor, formation of thoughts. So with all that being said, we end on reason because the thought process, this is the wheel. This is the way that it all works. And this is the thinking like the masses. Most people living through their senses, you see the box around present results, and we go, okay, that's living through the senses. We're looking at that. We look at these present results and they cause us to have thoughts, and those thoughts cause particular feelings. Now we know the feelings is what's causing us to do stuff through the day. That's coming from subconscious. So if we're having thoughts that are in line with present results that are causing feelings that are in line with our present results, it's going to cause us to take actions that's going to get more of the present results. And that's the struggle wheel. That's what 99.999% of the people are out there doing. Looking at present results, letting it dictate what they're thinking, causing those feelings and getting more of the same results and going, why the hell is this happening to me? Oh man, I'm just a victim. I don't know. Just a victim of ignorance, not been taught how to use your mind. Very few people do this. That's why we say thinking like the 1%. The 1% of the people that are out there. 96% of all the wealth that is in this world is held by 1% of the population. Why is that? It's not fair. It's not that it's not fair. They're just following the rules. Whether they know they're following the rules or not, it doesn't matter. Of the 1%, a very small percentage actually know the stuff that you're learning right here and now. They can't even transfer it to their kids. That's why you see somebody who's very successful and go, man, my kids, what the heck's wrong with them? I can't, because they don't understand even what they're doing. They can't transfer it over to them. But this is exactly what they are doing. See the box? The thoughts and the ideas. They begin with the thoughts that they want to have, the ideas. Idea is just a collection of thoughts directed toward a purpose, by the way, if you've ever heard that before. New original thoughts and ideas, which cause new feelings, which cause new actions, which, of course, fill in the blank. What does that get you? New results. You take those results and you look at them and you go, well, what did I like about that? What do I want to improve about that? That's it. Start with new thoughts about what you want to improve, what you want to get better, and then let that cause those feelings, get emotionally involved with that and the outcome of that, take new actions, and then again, objectively, just look at those results and keep doing that. And there's no way, if you follow that wheel, starting with your new thoughts, why you're God's highest form of creation, creating new thoughts, there's no way if you do that that you don't get what you want, and continue to just do it. Boom, bang, that's the process. Does it resonate? An educated person is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. We think that's education. We've been taught that's what education is. It's not what it is. An educated person is one who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they may acquire anything that they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Napoleon Hill said that. I must have erased his name. I'll put my name down there. So, education
comes. Top.
Oh, yeah. Is it? There it is. Oh, it's under my stop button. Zoom. Thank you. Napoleon Hill, he broke it down. He said education comes from the word educo, and it means to draw from within. It means teaching people to behave the way they don't behave. It's not about going out there and reading another book, although we get much wonderful information about, the world and the way that it works. But Really, education is about internalizing that stuff and causing a vibration inside of you, how you feel about yourself. That was a big deal because Napoleon Hill was commissioned to write Think and Grow Rich by Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was the wealthiest man in the world. And he only had a fourth grade education. He knew that it wasn't right. And at that time, university and all that stuff was coming out. So these people were coming out with degrees and they had tons of education and they couldn't go out and get what they wanted. They couldn't produce happy relationships. They couldn't produce successful business. And he knew that something was off that way. And that's the truth. It's not about education. It's so rare that you actually have to go out and learn something else in order to do what you really want to do. The truth is you need to learn how to do something else. You're on target with that stuff, Jason, because it is. Keep searching. You're attracting it to yourself. It's about changing habits. When we talk about what it is that we do, we're coming from habit all the time. So what do I do to change my habits? That's true education. One more, a little recap right here. See if I can move this stuff, get it out of the way. Nope. Okay. So just look, this is the thinking into results wheel right here. On the masses, results cause the thoughts, cause the feelings, cause the actions. Life equals more of the same struggle, but it always goes around. Do you see the little arrows in the middle? It's always going to go around in that circle. All you have to do if you want to think like the 1%, if you want to get what you want, is shift. Don't look at those present results. Don't talk about them in that way that emotionalizes them for you. Don't tell the story many times to people around you. Don't waste your time with that stuff because it's creating that for you. That's a big deal about like regression therapy. Like, I get it. Therapists, they want to do that. They want to go do that stuff because it kind of feels good to find out what caused it. But what the hell are you going to do with it when you find out what caused it? The only thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to go get the life that you want. You want to go live the life that you want. So why not start with getting the life that you want? And the funny thing is that all that stuff shows up later and you go, oh yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, I got that from there. But why not just take off in the direction that you want? And it's a small shift by not letting those results and those things consume your life and begin with new thoughts, like the 1% on the right side here. They begin with their thoughts. They allow those thoughts to cause their feelings and their actions and their results, causes new results. Their life equals they're always in charge and they're creating any results that they want. You can create any result that you want there too. Nothing is impossible for you. Only what you say is impossible. So our other, there it is, our higher faculties, accept this for yourself too. This is information that they're perfect. They only require development. Every one of us has the ability. If you wanted to go into energy and reading people, all you would have to do is to develop that and get on the path of developing that intuitive energy that I was talking about. That's the one that gets it the most, the intuition. People say, oh, I don't have that. It's a sixth sense or something. It's not. That's a misnomer. We all have that. And every one of our faculties have the ability to be absolutely amazing. Memory is another one. Well, I don't have a good memory. So what shows up in that person's life that way? Well, they don't remember. But that's not true. We just don't understand how to use our memory. Memory works off of association, and you know that somebody tells you a story and it really resonates with you. You don't need to hear that story 10 times to retell it. You just hear it the one time, but you've got the whole picture association in your head, and you can retell that story. And memory really works with ridiculous association. If you want to learn how to remember people's names right away, the moment they introduce themselves to you, you associate them with something that's just kind of maybe comical for you or whatever. And you don't have to say it outright because, especially when you're just meeting somebody for the first time, you're like, man, you look exactly like George Clooney. You don't know how that's going to go. But if their name is George and they look like George Clooney, you're never going to forget it if you think that right then. So the next time you see them, you've got it. Yeah.
There's another book I read that kind of touches on how to remember people's names. And I thought it was interesting because, I mean, the book said basically, if you don't remember someone's name, it's because you simply don't care enough. So if you just engage in the conversation that you're having with that person and give that person the attention they deserve at that moment, most likely you will remember their name.
Yeah. When I started using that technique, I actually, because I used to say that too, like I don't remember people's names, but it blew me away how well it worked, because I would walk up to people and I would say, "Hey, you're so and so," but I would have the feeling inside like it was still my old programming saying like maybe, you are you sure? How could you do that? But it's like, no, trust yourself. And I would say their name, and so often people would go, "Wow, I can't believe you remembered my name." And it works. It works every time. So it's a misnomer to think that we don't have the ability. I don't have a good memory. I don't have good intuition. Let all that stuff go and understand. Uh, Even stuff with ADD, you can totally get into that zone and begin to direct your will and condition your will so that you are able to focus on just one thing to the exclusion of everything else. Just get into the process of developing them. They're not something you're either born with or not. So that's off. Let go of that. Oh crap! I already said all this stuff. I'm not going. I'm not good at that. Begin developing yours and taking action now. So this is what we're going to do. So often we look at something, as we said, you know, you can screenshot these things too, because that really is the trick to staying in charge no matter what. So many of the lessons start this way. It says, hey, let's just take a look at what's not going well in your life, something that you don't want. And we're taking a look with the purpose of creating what it is that you want. We're not taking a look at it so that we can get emotionally involved with it and dwell on it. You want to get it out. Write out a situation that's not going well or something you'd like to improve, and write the situation in detail, down to what you're feeling and what you're doing. Everything. Just get it out. Notice the thoughts that you naturally have about this. Are your thoughts negative or positive? And just notice. Don't judge yourself. Gosh darn it, I'm such a negative person, I can't stand myself. Don't do that. Not worth your time. Use your higher faculty of reason to have different thoughts about this. Just pluck them out of the sky, man. W. Clement Stone. Say it's good. Doesn't matter what it is. Just say, hey, this is great. You'll figure out why it's great later. Think about ways to make it better. Brainstorm these ways and write them down. Now, next, same situation. Use your perception to see the situation through another's eyes. See someone who could not fail at this. Just pick somebody. Pick somebody that you know. It's going to flip your thinking. From their point of view, what do you see? What would they do? It's not a problem for them. Perception is really cool too, because wherever you're going, when you've defined your goal out, ask yourself, is this a problem for my higher self, the person that I'm growing into? You're going to find that the answer is no, it's not a problem. Whoa, what do they do? Oh man, they eat this stuff up. They doesn't even matter. They don't even get nervous about it. They don't get upset about it. It's no big deal. Start doing what that is that they do. It's going to come to you right then and there. Use your imagination to see the situation already as you would like it to be. What's the end result that you want from this challenge that you're faced with? What's the greatest thing that could happen? Oh, that feels awesome. So sit there and feel that for a while. Now go back and say, oh, how did that happen? Backtrack, brainstorm the ways that it could have happened. Whatever you come up with is valid, by the way, too. You're going to be amazed with what you come up with when you get into this vibration and do it. Write the brainstormed ideas down. And the last thing is, use your will to hold your thoughts on any of these solutions that you've produced in the previous 3 steps. If your focus shifts away, just gradually shift it back. Notice what you're feeling. When you are feeling things, remember the thought wheel. Your feelings cause you to want to take action. When you feel like I'm thirsty, like I want to get a drink, you get up, you move your feet, you take a walk, but it was a feeling and I'm thirsty. I'm going to go get something to drink. I need to go to the other room to hear what's going on. It sounds like my kid just broke the TV. You know, it's a feeling that causes you to do that. So notice the feelings that you're having, and then the actions that you're inspired to take are so important. Get them down, write them down, and then take the action. Set yourself up to take the action. Now, remember, your habitual self, as you are right now, is going to be kind of out of harmony with that. You're going to be going in and out. How do you get yourself to do that? Well, fall in love with your goal is one thing. You know, if you take that action enough times, you're going to get what you want. But accountability, get yourself an accountability partner. Accountability is the insurance policy for success. If you say to yourself that you're going to do the thing, and I know that you guys have done this before, you're going to make a backroom deal with yourself. I've got a guy that shows up in my garage. I got two guys. One of them's 22 years old and the other's 37, and they are workout freaks. I don't have any choice but to get my ass up because it's at my house and work my ass off with these guys at 4 a.m. I can't get out of it, but that's what I really want. I'm so thankful for that. Now at 4 a.m. am I sometimes and want to cry a little bit, but at 5:15 when it's all said and done and over, oh man, there's never a time when I say I wish I hadn't done that. It's 7 o'clock. Holy crap, it's 7. I'm sorry, guys, I ran over. 7 o'clock, you know, I'm so happy that I nailed my workout today. I'm 46 years old, you know, and I get to be in the type of shape that none of my friends are in at 46 years old. And it's because of stuff like that. So get yourself into that place where you can't get out of it. Put yourself in the vessel and weld it shut. No escape hatches. Get her done. That's it. Drop it. Read the article, the 333 story. They produce phenomenal results there. I'm going to put the link in the chat. You guys grab it. Get this recording. Take this stuff in. Watch it again and again and again and again. You know what I want to do? Before, I haven't done this yet, but I want to send you guys the page where all of the M3 recordings are, because every time I put a new recording up like this one, so the last time we did the Thinking into Results one, the new video goes in there. So they're always being refreshed every 12 weeks or so. So you guys always have that link for any one of them that you're looking for. And next week, we're getting into self-image. Self-image sets the boundaries for your accomplishments in this life, and you'll never exceed what your self-image says is possible for you. If you ever go outside of those boundaries, it's only temporary. So we must get in tune with what it is that we really think and feel about what we are. And we've got to learn that we have an image of ourselves in the form of programming, just like we have the image for our house, our car, our wife, our body. We have an image for what we really think we are. And that image, just like everything else in our life, is susceptible to be changed in any direction that we want. Open floor, you guys, to share takeaways, anything, questions. I know I ran long. Thank you for your patience.
I'm good. I appreciate your time in that.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure.
It's crazy how when we started this Zoom meeting, Matt, before anyone was on, what I was talking to you about leaving to Arkansas and doing that initial goal, which is, you know, spreading my passion, dance and vibration all over the world, you know. And so that's my goal, you know, and I put a side note here that that is my goal, right? And the me now, which is a new me from when I first met you. So that's where I'm kind of like, where I was getting tripped up with it. I'm like, oh, well, I have, you know, everyone wanting to book me and blah, blah, blah. Within those weeks that I wanted to initially leave, but building a new me every time, you know, like those people and stuff are going to be there still when I come back. So right. Why not just go into a whole nother state and do that same concept and have those more problems. Is that how I was seeing them before this lesson, So I don't know. I think this was a perfect lesson right now to help me kind of sort all that out, because my thoughts and
Absolutely.
ideas, are like they need to keep flowing fresh and then go for it.
Yeah, like we said, there is no poverty. There's only a poverty mindset. So, when we think like, oh, it's not going to be there for me, or I'm going to miss out on something, we're thinking and focusing on what we're going to miss out on. And so that's so good that you made that shift and understand, yeah, all that stuff it's still here for you, and more of it's here for you. The more you change you and continue to get in that vibration, the more it's just going to flood to you. So good for you.
Thank you for you.
Thank you. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you guys. This is that recording page, by the way, guys. I'm going to put it in there. I put the 333 story, and that is all the recordings in M3. So if you guys want to copy and paste that way, so when I'm sending the recordings, I'm just sending the single page to you. And I don't put the stuff on my website because I feel like when people go to the website, they got too many options. It's just too confusing. They click around. They're like, I'm not sure. And then they're out of here. It's like being able to order from a menu the size of an encyclopedia, if you're at a restaurant. It ain't going to happen. Go to In and Out. It's easy selection, right? So it's right there for you guys if you guys want any of those recordings to go back and watch. And I always highly encourage you. Think about Bob. Bob did what he did and made his massive shift in his life because he read Think and Grow Rich every day. He listened to those recordings every day. How did you learn to say your name? Oh, you heard your parents telling you that stuff every day. How did you learn to walk? Well, you just continued to try to do it every day until you got it. That's really what learning is. So don't feel like I was telling Jason too, it's I read a book several times. Neville Goddard, Faith is Your Fortune is one of my favorite books. And it's just a little book, but I have read that book probably 20 plus times, maybe 30. I don't even know because I'm constantly listening to it on Audible and I read the book. But I do that because it's an internalization. The information in that book is so valuable to me. I want it to be a part of my being. You know, I don't. How great is it to think that anytime you're going to go do something in the world, the first thing your natural response, without even thinking, is all the ways that you can do it, and how wonderful it is to have that. Start drawing that thing to you, and that's wonderful. That's a beautiful concept to me. So take this stuff in. I know it resonates with you guys. Listen to it. Listen to it. Listen to it. All the free time you have when you're exercising, put it on. Put the lesson on. That's it.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you all so much. I appreciate you. It was awesome, M3. We got to be a small little family tonight. And I will see you next week for self image.
Bye.
All right, take care.
You too.
Have a good one.